everybody. My name is Karl Horne from SES's Cloud Practice Team, and I'm here today to talk to you about SES's strategy for space-enabled cloud. We really cover two things. First, why? Why is SES even focusing on something like the cloud? Many of our customers right now are looking at adopting cloud, but they're really looking to adopt the cloud as part of something that we call digital transformations. And what is digital transformation other than just a buzzword we've all heard? Sometimes it's referred to as re-engineered business processes. Sometimes it's called Industry 4.0 adoption. But at a high level, what it is, it's about leveraging technologies ultimately to drive business outcomes, which by itself is a little bit of a strange phrase. So let me try to put a little bit more detail behind that. So we'll draw our little basket here. There's a basket of technologies that are being adopted in the industry today, and they power these digital transformations. What do these include? Well, they include things like virtualization, like private 5G, IoT, the Internet of Things, sensory inputs and outputs, virtual reality, augmented reality. They include data engines for analytics, and machine learning, artificial intelligence. And all of these really are combined in order to build applications and platforms. Now, these technologies by themselves are not a business outcome, but they help power business outcomes, and that's ultimately what our customers are looking to do. And what sort of business outcomes are they interested in? What sorts of outcomes are the customers looking for? They're looking for data-driven insights and operations, automation, process efficiencies. They're looking for improvements in things like yield, security, and continuity of operations. And in the end, they want to achieve all of this because it helps them do one of two things: make money or save money. Again, why is SES thinking about the cloud in this context, if this is what our customers are doing? These technologies, by and large, are powered by the cloud. So, these days, none of this is possible unless you have the cloud. The space-enabled cloud is really about space-enabled digital transformations. What would be some examples of that? Well, let's look at four. And let's start with a cargo ship carrying lots of containers. Obviously, a ship needs a satellite communication link in order just to be able to do anything broadband or otherwise. And for digital transformation, they'll use that satellite link maybe to establish an IoT environment. The International Maritime Organization is now starting to set some mandates for cargo vessels on energy efficiency. And through the course of this decade, they're going to ask that vessels comply to a certain rating of energy efficiency or be fined if they don't do that. What does a vessel need to do then? To optimize its energy consumption, it needs to use IoT-based instrumentation and feedback and control. That way, it can monitor the use of resources, the operations on the vessel, and it can actually then start automating some loops and some control to get the best energy performance out of the vessel it can. And we can even see that moving forward in time, that operations will become fully autonomous, even perhaps someday to the point where navigation becomes fully autonomous. And so in this digital transformation, this is really all about helping a cargo fleet reach these energy efficiency targets as mandated by the IMO. What would be another example? Well, for satellite services, one of the common customer segments for us is offshore oil and gas rigs. And so what's happening there? Digital transformations are happening for that customer segment as well. And one of the ways that this is being applied is by, again, using IoT and other technologies to do very large-scale data collection. And with this data collection, we're gathering information about seismic and subsea information, reams and reams of data. It's very raw data, so it really needs to be pushed up into the cloud, where the cloud then, with its analytics platforms, create a meta data set. And this meta data set then can be fed back to the site. And what this does is it helps the site then do very targeted exploration and targeted extraction. Exploration and extraction. Ultimately, this is going to improve the yields of what gets produced or extracted out of that particular site, and it can do it in a much greener fashion. So this is another example of how digital transformations are happening in satellite-fed segments. Now, these are commercial applications, but what about the public sector? Absolutely, digital transformation is happening there as well. Let's consider, for instance, for civil operations, for first responders. These are responders who need to get deployed in case of a seismic event, in case of a weather event. Well, how are they leveraging digital transformation technologies there? Well, obviously, there's this idea, satellite communications, on the pause to create a communication link to that site. But beyond that, then, they may create a localized networking solution based on private 5G and maybe IoT. And what this does is it allows the first responding community there to restore communications, critical communications, either amongst themselves, but also to be able to feed information back to headquarters for command and control, information that could be gathered by the IoT subsystems, temperature sensors, wearable sensors from the responders themselves, and maybe video to help plan the response better, and to help plan the operations better on the site. And then finally, there could be military applications for this as well. And what sorts of things are we seeing there? Clearly, there are satellite requirements for things like establishing communications to forward operating bases, or maybe even vessels themselves. And in those forward operating bases and those vessels, there's going to be a need to connect to a cloud, but connect to that securely. So secure cloud access. Finally, there may be a need to deploy localized communications technologies, such as private 5G, for this concept of a mobile warfighter. All of these are really good examples of how digital transformation is being applied across a variety of different segments that we serve with satellite communications. And so this idea of space-enabled cloud really becomes an enabler for space-enabled digital transformations across all of this. Digital transformations can happen across a variety of different market segments that SES serves. And all of these things are possible, really, by the cloud. So we see that space-enabled cloud maps pretty much directly to space-enabled digital transformation for our customers.